Come here, Light. Sit on the chair. We're gonna interview you. Sit.
Where did you put all the treats, Light? Aww.
Okay, so sit. All right. So tell me a story. Like, how was your mother? Shake.
Does he know his mother?
Yeah, it's my mom's dog.
Oh, does he ever visit her?
No.
They
not
don't.
yet.
They're not on speaking terms anymore.
Yeah, he's not on speaking terms with his mom right now.
What about Choji?
Choji? Speak. Yeah,
Ooh, he has a lot to say about his mama.
he lived with his mom for a lot longer.
You guys are going to be hearing doggies a lot, so don't mind them.
Sorry, they're really loud. Hi, welcome back to the Valiant Unicorn YouTube channel, where we talk about self-love, creativity, and sometimes we get into the culty stuff. And today we have Amanda here with us.
Hi!
We're going to talk about our healing journeys, and I guess we'll start with our trauma from our mothers.
Trauma from my mama! We both, for anyone that doesn't know me, we both came from the same cult. His dad and my dad are half siblings. So we grew up, no, I didn't really know you that well growing up, but I knew
You
your
were
sisters.
too little for me.
Yeah, but
We were a different age.
Yeah, I knew you were the lunch lady. His sister was married to my brother. But we both, growing up in the same cult, going through the same stuff, have similar trauma from our mamas. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll ask you questions. Also, you can interrupt. But yeah, I guess I'll start with my mom. So I just did an interview with my mom for anyone that didn't see.
Definitely go watch it. It was good.
I will leave a link down below. And she, after doing that interview with her, I had order brain. Like, my order mindset when I was still there was just like, oh no, someone needs to take care of her, like financially, and I need to do it. That's on me, because she brought me into this world and she's a wonderful lady. And I really love her a lot, but like, if for something like that to fall on me, I think she needed to raise me in a way that I could support myself, at very least.
Give you those tools to be able to get there so that it would be easier for you, but she didn't equip you with those tools. We weren't equipped with tools to live on the outside and to function as individuals and be independent, because we weren't meant to be independent. We were meant to be cult followers.
And rely on them for everything.
Exactly. And I think your interview with your mom was so good, and it was so obvious the love that was there, but there was also so much pain that came with it, because I think what the order did to your mom was she wanted to be a mom to you guys, but she knew the mom that she needed to be for the Lord. I think, and my mom said these things too, like, at the end of the day, the responsibility of all of, not just her salvation, but all of the kids' salvation is on her, right? And how she raises the kids. So at the end of the day, she ended up doing things that don't make sense, aren't healthy, but it's for the Lord or for heaven or whatever.
Well, there's so much pressure on these women. So much pressure. They're expected to do everything. Like, there's like no responsibility that falls on the man, especially with the raising of the children.
Yep.
So it's easy for a mom so I seen my mom when she had me and Chanel, and it was just a couple kids. She did amazing. After she started getting so many kids, I literally watched her just get overwhelmed and shut down. Like, I would be like, Mom, what's for dinner? And she'd be like, in a book. Or just because she just needed to get away.
Probably needed to disassociate from reality for a little bit.
And I'm like, hello?
Maza? Yeah, because my mom had 10 kids. Your mom had
12.
12. And how do you physically take care and have attention on each of those kids when also you're expected to be the breadwinner? You're expected to take care of the kids financially too. What was your dad doing for the family financially? He talked about this in court. He gave him a sack of potatoes once a month.
I think it was once a year.
Are you serious?
For Christmas.
For Christmas, they got a sack of potatoes, and that's how much the dad contributed. So not only is she expected to be this mother to all of these kids, but she's expected to provide and pay rent and get the kids to school, like make sure the meal's on the table when your dad comes over.
Oh yeah, and when he comes over, it's a big to-do for her. So she's already meant to be perfect, right? She's expected to do all these things. And now she has to have his clothes ironed perfectly, his steak dinner ready. Like,
so stupid.
Oh my gosh.
Like, to me, and I've heard women in the order, I'll say this, like, my mom because she was on escape and polygamy and she did leave and come back, and one of her biggest concerns, and she was crying about this, is like, what if I leave and I end up on the streets? Like, I don't know how to take care of myself. I'm like, Mom, you're already doing it. You aren't getting support from Dad. He's the reason why you're broke.
That was one thing I told Daniel the night he kicked me out. He was like telling me to get out and whatever. I was like, you're not hurting me by telling me to like leave. I've been supporting her and her kids. You're hurting them. Mm-hmm. This is better for me.
Yeah. So it's going to be harder on the family. Do you find yourself, because with me, I go this back and forth with just being like kind of like upset at my mom, but I find myself constantly reminding myself, Amanda, if you were in her situation, wouldn't you have done similar things? Wouldn't you have been survivable? Yeah.
Totally. I have so much compassion for my mom. There's only love and respect for what she's gone through. That's what scares me, is because that after that interview, I was just like, all I wanted to do was just that mindset that I had in the order was take care of my mom. The same thing. After a day away from her, I was like, whoa, Val.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot. And it's not even her fault. Mm-hmm. It's not like she did anything. It's just that it's so triggering, and it brings, like, I've done a lot of work to heal, and we'll go over some of that, but it was like revert back to those old patterns, because you have like these patterns that you create in your mind. Like, if, for example, you experience a certain emotion so often, the more often you experience that emotion, the easier it is for the wires in your brain to like fire those off.
Which is why when you leave the order, because I was very depressed in the order, and when I left, it was so easy to just be depressed again. Mm-hmm. Depressed, because being happy was such an unfamiliar emotion.
Right.
And I felt guilt for being happy. Like, why are you being happy? You need to be suffering for the work of the Lord, right?
Right. I literally had that same experience. In fact, while I was doing healing and trying to work on myself, there was a lot of like family members and other things going on, and that's when you actually come into my life, because I'm trying to do this healing work, and there's like a lot of drama that even you was around for.
Yeah. Sometimes a lot of ex-members get involved in the same drama. But yeah, I think we were both on a similar healing journey. I was starting to finally do like committed work to therapy. I had gone to therapy on and off. And then finally I was like, I got into this place where I started to feel like I felt right before I left the order that like, I don't know if I can take this anymore. So I was like, I'm going to commit to therapy once a week. I'm actually taking this seriously. I want a better life for myself. And then I met you, and I felt like you were starting to do the same. Well, you probably were on the journey longer.
I didn't really do therapy religiously, or even like I wasn't that interested in it before you. I mean, I had done it before, but it was like, whatever. But after, like, talking to you, I actually ended up getting the same therapist as you.
Yeah, but you've done therapy before.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so it wasn't, like, unfamiliar to you.
No, but it was... What was really hard was realizing that not everyone in your family can come with you on this healing journey.
Yeah, the hardest part, I think, probably about life in general, is realizing that you, in your journey, you're going to have to be okay with letting go of the ones that aren't good for you.
Yeah.
And it's that same thing, that guilt, because when I left the order, I don't know if you were the same way, but when I left, they told me that I threw my family in the trash. How dare I? Like, they turned it all on me, gaslighting to the max. They turned it all on me, like I chose this and I chose to, F you to my family, but at the end of the day, it was I couldn't live there anymore, or else I was going to be, the whole story. Oh yeah, that whole dynamic of having to leave someone. I think a lot of people who leave these types of cults and they go through such a loss of family, they hang on to people who may be toxic.
Anyone that will come back, because like I remember telling myself, I don't know if you did the same, but like I would tell myself, I didn't disown them, they disowned me. Yeah. So any one of them that would like come back in my life, regardless of how that looked, I would like open arms, let them in.
Even if they weren't good for you.
Right.
And I felt guilt for ever turning anyone away, because I knew what that felt like in the order. I didn't turn them away. I was knocking on the door, they just weren't opening. So I knew how that felt to get rejected by your own family, and so I never wanted to be that person to anyone who needed help out here. But then I started to get into situations multiple times over and over and over again where I'm getting burned in the same fire that they're okay being in. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like someone's burning in the fire, they like it there. and you're trying to help them, and you're going in the fire with them.
That's the sad part, is a lot of these people aren't even conscious that they like it there.
Yeah.
They just, it's the brain patterns that they have, and it's almost like an addiction to them. They need to feel this depression, they need to feel this anxiety, because they don't know anything different. And it's actually scary to experience a new emotion.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, our therapist actually said something. I said it on my Patreon because it was such good information, because there was this point in my journey of therapy where I kept hitting that same issue over and over again. And I'm like, why do I keep running into the same issue? Or why do I keep attracting toxic people? So she told me this analogy of, she probably told you this too. There's a man walking down a path and he falls into this pothole. And he's like, oh my gosh, how did I get here? What the heck? And then he crawls out of the pothole, and then he goes around the path again, sees the pothole. This next time he sees the pothole, and he falls in it again. And he goes, oh my gosh, what the hell? And then he crawls out of it again, and then the next time around, he sees the pothole, knows it's there, and decides to take the second path. But a lot of people can't get to that consciousness.
Right.
And they keep jumping into the pothole over and over and over again, not understanding, knowing, some of them know that they like it, but they're not going to do anything about it. And
yeah.
I was that person for a long time. Like, I don't know what's wrong. I don't know why I keep finding myself in this situation, but I'm not willing to look for another way of living.
Well, and sometimes you're just so close you can't even see it. Like, you're too close to the situation that you're not even realizing. Like, even I had past relationships that, looking back now, I'm like, I wouldn't last 5 seconds in that relationship.
Yeah. And it's such a good thing, though, to grow. And that's why you see this a lot on Instagram. Like, you look at a picture of your ex and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was with them. But it's because you've grown and healed and realized you deserve better than that.
Right. And then so I do want to make something really clear. My mom is not one of those people that I want to exclude out of my life. I want to find a way to be around her that's not going to revert my mindset back to my old patterns.
But it's hard, because I have the same thing where I don't know what's wrong with me, but every time I'm in a 10-mile radius of my mom, I'm like, I get defensive, I get anxiety, I'm automatically ready for a fight, because that was Amanda in the order. There was always something wrong. I always had to defend myself. Amanda was this demon child.
Right.
So I don't know, but how do you, that was your relationship your entire life with your mom, how do you change it to something different?
If I knew. If I knew.
So leave it down in the comments down below if you figured it out. Because
right.
this has been, I'm 28 now and I'm still, like, yes, I have a better relationship with my mom. She can't trigger me like she used to, because your moms always know the best. They know you best and they know how to push those buttons.
They know you better than anyone.
But I'm not to the point now where I can get as triggered, but somehow my mind, body, and soul remembers everything.
Right.
And it doesn't want to forget and let it go.
New mindset that got me into YouTube, a lot of that was you that helped me into it. But I did find that I needed to get out of the scarcity mindset. I needed to stop living in fear, because if you're afraid, it holds you back.
Yeah, you can't think rationally. I'll tell everyone this in all my videos. I think they're annoyed of it, but that's what cults do. They get us to think in fear our whole life. So it's very natural for us to be fear-minded thinkers, because when you think in fear, you don't think rationally, and you're more likely to listen to a leader.
Right.
So
it's
with
a submissive mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I also believe you can't trust yourself as much. So
because
I don't know how you were able to get out of that. I still kind of go back to it.
So I went back to it after that interview, and I was like, whoa, this is not, because I made rules for myself. I literally made a magnet. If you buy my boxes, you'll know. I have I have pre-orders for Christmas. I can put them down in the description box below. But there's this magnet, and it tells you, I will talk to myself with respect, and let me go read the magnet, because I'm going to not even remember.
Who is this person in front of your house? They do? Oh, okay. I'm like, oh, these order people. Get out of here, you order people.
Let me just read the magnet, okay? So let's see. It says, your uniqueness is a superpower. Remember, you're a masterpiece in progress. Speak to yourself with kindness and allow your brilliance to shine. And this was my mindset to get my YouTube started, because I'm not going to be living in shame. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be living in fear. Like, those emotions, I think, are important, but don't let them run your life. It's kind of like, so it's like, I don't know, it's a little bit woo-woo, but we'll talk about inner child.
A little bit woo-woo. But I think it's woo-woo to be living in fear, to be constantly living in a state of fear. Are you actually enjoying your life, and are you what are your day-to-day choices? Are they for you? What are they even for?
Right? Like, you're going to live your life in fear and submit to that fear. No, this fear, I still acknowledge it, but now I acknowledge it like a little child. And I just be like, what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
Why do you feel that way? And then I give it some reassurance, and then I say, yeah, that could happen, and in a week from now you can tell me I told you so. I'm doing it anyways.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to live in fear.
Who's that person that quote, the only thing to fear is fear itself? When I heard that, I was like, that is so true. Such a good point. But there is, I mean, obviously, like, acknowledge all of your feelings, like, they're all valid, but just notice which ones are helping you and which ones are hurting you. Call it Pavo mindset. We were born in poverty in the order, and there's a lot of times where I come out here and you want to build wealth, you want to be more successful than you were in the order, but that Pavo mindset comes up. Like, I catch myself all the time jumping over dollars to pick up pennies.
Oh yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Like, that's an analogy, but like I can't buy this because it's too expensive, but it could be launching me further in my YouTube career, or in something that could be potentially benefiting me, or even mentally. Like, I can't pay for therapy because it's too much, but it's going to benefit your life.
Well, that's most of our limits. We're putting these glass walls around ourselves.
Yep.
And they're not even there, guys.
It's just mental blocks. We're all guilty of them, and as long as we can be aware, and just like that story, the analogy of like the pothole, where some people are too close to it to even realize it, or some people don't even want to assess their situation because it's too much energy. If you're willing to put in the energy and get to know yourself, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be so pretty, but it's a lot of work.
So I have a question for everyone. In the comments below, what do you do for to keep your mindset in a healthy space? And that's my question for you right now. What kind of different things do you do to keep a healthy mindset?
I think the biggest thing, I wish that I could stay true to this. Like, I'm guilty of like breaking this habit a lot, but when I used to wake up super early and I would do my yoga, and then I would do journal entries. And I would journal out the things that were issues in my life at the time and why. I would make pros and cons lists of the person I was dating, like, why is this something that's constantly on my mind? And then it would help me, especially when it was the first thing of the day. The first thing of the day is something to help yourself, and an act of self-love. Then I felt like the rest of the day fell into place easier.
Oh, interesting, yeah. Mine's kind of the opposite, because I work 12-hour shifts, so I sleep as long as I can, and then I get up right before I have to go, and then I go. And so I kind of did something similar, but it was at the end of the day, I would be like, what was I thankful for today? I just have to put one thing, and it can't be the same thing that I've ever wrote down in my thankfulness journal, because I don't really do a lot.
Wow.
So I just do like one day, it was kind of a really rough day, and I put alcohol. That day, I was thankful for alcohol.
Thank God for alcohol. That's a good one, a gratitude journal.
Yeah.
To focus, because a lot of times it's so easy to focus on the negative, but there's so much good to be grateful for. And that's also something that I try to do every time I'm doing that negative self-talk, which happens a lot, unfortunately, trying to say like 5 nice things about myself, or to remember how far you've come. Remember how far you've come. You brought yourself there. You did that. Like, remember that 18-year-old scared little bitch? You're not her anymore. To pat yourself on the back.
Right.
We always forget to do that. Because you've hung out with yourself so long, like, you kind of just think this is who you are, but you weren't always this person.
So I have some controversial beliefs on like therapy and healing, and I want to tell mine, and then I want to hear your side, like what your opinion is, or
Okay.
Okay, so my thoughts on like talk therapy is it has its place, but I feel like it's very limited. As far as if I'm gonna go see the same therapist every week for like a year, something's wrong.
Yeah. I believe that you can outgrow your therapist, and I believe that there's a point in time, which is sad when I realized this because I got so connected to my therapist. There's a point where it becomes, maybe not all therapists, but for me, there's a point where you become like too much of friends, and there's too much of a what's that word called where you just always take your, you know how there's those jokes where you always just take your friend's side. Well, oh, you kill someone, they probably deserve it.
Oh yeah.
You know, kind of like that, like bias. You're very biased, and then you start to form this kind of a weird relationship with your therapist. So you need fresh eyes on the situation. Say hi,
So
hi, Leo.
yeah, I very much agree with that. I don't know. I also think, so this is my thoughts on talk therapy. I think go talk to your therapist, get their advice, and then you need to spend some time being alone. Like, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I think what's got me through a lot is that pain of just being alone and there's no one else there. You fix this. They gave you the tools. You know what to do. And so I think that time to do it on your own, by yourself, is like so healing. So hard, but so healing.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes a lot of energy to be able to do that. And that's the thing, is I really like talk therapy, but I also like the EMDR.
Oh yeah.
I feel like EMDR helps me get past those really, really hard things that I have, for whatever reason in my brain, think that I can't get past. Like, there was a long time that I was struggling with paranoia about older people like following me, and like I would just hyper focus too much on what older people were saying and thinking about me because I'm so public. And so I would go to EMDR?
EMDR.
I always use the wrong verbiage. Someone corrected me in a video. But it's basically where you hold these two little vibrating little vibrators in your hands, and it goes left to right, and it connects your left and right side of the brain to kind of fix those parts of your brain that are like overreacting and overworking itself. Kind of makes you have a better process of the issue at hand, basically. I usually cry.
Do you have any that you're willing to like share about like a breakthrough of one of those times?
Yeah.
With that one?
Yeah. And she's also done, because I left and moved to Vegas and we did it over the phone, so that you can do tapping on yourself. And I did do it a few times to be able to help myself like figure it out. But the main one was, for a long time I was living in Utah and I would drive home at night. I had a late job like you too. And I swear to God, there was a time where I was followed home. Like, I took wrong turns and they took me, like, you know how you do 3 right turns and you know you're getting followed? It was like that. I was super paranoid. And then after that, every single time going home, I was paranoid. I was having dreams that people were breaking into my home. Just nightmare after nightmare. So I tell her, and I'm like frustrated with it. So we went in and we did this. We had to do it a few times because it was a pretty deep-rooted trauma, paranoia. And she also was like, well, it's a very valid trauma. She kind of made it worse by the talk therapy. So I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. So then we finally took it, and she would ask me the questions on why it bothers me so much, what I fear the most, what could help. And after a few sessions, I never was worried about it again.
Wow.
So super interesting.
I know that is really interesting with that MDMR, is that what it's called?
I think it's EMDR, but I keep calling it, because it's rapid eye movement. EMDR, something to do with eye movement. Yeah. Yeah,
so one of the ones that were deep-rooted for me and it was really hard to get through was I kept having like negative self-talk to where I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm like, I can't read because I'm dyslexic. And so I did that for a while. And we would target just one, and then it would switch. Like, okay, now I'm dumb. Now I can't read. Like, it was just like it kept getting away. So I'm like, hey, we gotta like hit all 3 at the same time because it's just like changing the wording.
Yeah.
And then I found out it was an excuse for me to not educate myself because or just to be lazy. There's a reason to not better myself because I'm too stupid anyways.
So it was like a cop-out.
It was a cop-out.
Wow.
And I was like, oh yeah, I definitely want to get rid of that.
Yeah.
Like, why would I limit myself like that?
Yeah, it was something that was in the way of your growth. Yeah, and I really feel like this paranoia thing was in the way of me really sharing my full truths a lot of the time because I was like, what if I can't say that because it might trigger this person? But I also had a similar thing though where I did have negative self-talk, and I was like, in the beginning of my therapy, I always wanted to be this bold person, and I was like, I feel like I'm never going to be this bold person that I've always wanted to be.
Are you kidding me?
That's what my therapist said. She's like, you are one of the most bold people I know. And I was like, what? But I had to do EMDR to believe that any more than what I was believing at the time, because I was like, I'm so meek, I'm so like afraid to do anything. But like at the end of the day, to do what I do, there's a reason why not a lot of people are doing it.
Right, like, I am doing it anyways, like, because I'm not doing, like, negative self-talk. That's one of my rules is, like, no negative self-talk. I can acknowledge it and just be like, hey, I get why you feel that way, but we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
You don't talk to me like that. Do you know who I am?
I'm
you.
Yeah, do you have talked with yourself?
Yeah, I always talk to myself.
Even in the order, I feel like to stay not crazy, to stay sane, I had to be like, no, you're not crazy, they're the crazy.
Oh, I'm going to tell you something that makes me sound crazy.
Tell me.
Okay, so everyone knows I changed my name to Val, right? So I still view my soul named as Gerald. My body is Val. And it is like, because I got kicked out and I had nobody and nobody was with me. But Val was always with me. So I try to take care of my body and he takes care of me.
But Gerald is the soul.
Gerald's the soul.
Yeah.
And there was one time my ex, who wasn't very nice to me, called me Gerald. And I'm like, you don't get to use that name. That is not for you.
That was a special name. I never heard that version of it. I always thought it was just like, coming into your new life.
It was, but then I kind of really didn't like being alone and I needed to find a relationship to stay sane. And the relationship I found was with my body and with myself.
Yeah. That's something with me, like I, for a long time, didn't like the person that was in the order, but then I have to acknowledge the person in the order got me out.
Yeah.
She did she may have believed all the crazy mumbo jumbo, but she ultimately found a way out to protect myself and my future generation or whatever I was wanting to do at the time. So you have to acknowledge that you can't hate that part of yourself because that part of yourself got you here.
Yeah.
In some form. Wow, this is a really healing discussion. I'm hoping you guys are enjoying it as much as I am.
I always feel like it's a therapy session with Amanda. She always makes my life better.
That's what I was literally telling, because I had someone come and meet him, and the whole time I was like, you're gonna love Gerald, because every time I come here I feel like I gain so much knowledge. But maybe it's just me, how I feel that way whenever I'm here. But I also feel like with a lot of my friends, I feel like I have to cater to them, but I feel catered to in this. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
you
and
are
that's
my mom.
exactly when I went to your house, I was like, wow. That's what I came back to my therapist and was like, wow, I just felt like she catered to me, she took care of me, like...
You're like, I'm taken care of now.
Like, this is a good relationship.
That's what a healthy relationship looks like. It shouldn't look like always feeling drained after you're done talking to the person. But I thought that's how a friendship was for a long time.
Oh, I know, I'm not a social person. Mm-mm.
But it's probably because the people that you were socializing with were just draining you.
And if you notice, she calls me Gerald because she's in that inner circle, like really inner circle, to talk to my soul.
But I did know you as Gerald in the order too.
Yeah.
So it's still kind of hard to do. I try to do the Val Gerald thing.
Both are fine, but for her. But like
for her,
like you randomly come up to me and call me Gerald, I'll be like, that's not for you. You don't say that to me.
Spit that out right now.
If I don't know you, if we haven't established that relationship, don't be talking to my soul. That's not for you.
I like that though. I was talking about this with Shirley, that we are souls having a human experience, and I feel like that resonates the most with anything I believe in right now.
Oh my gosh, I didn't think I was going to share this early, but I've been thinking about what I believe spiritually a lot.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll share a little bit of it now. I think that God, the reason we can't see any evidence that she exists is because she exploded. She was the Big Bang, and she is all of us.
We are particles of her.
And we are all one.
Yep. I read this book that said when the times you see 11:11, because we've all seen 11:11 Make-A-Wish. We were talking about how you believe that we could be all split souls, right?
We're all
one soul.
We're all one of God.
Yeah.
Because God is if God is all knowing and everywhere and all loving, then how is that even possible? We can't, even our human brains can't comprehend it, so they create bogus religions.
Yeah, so our brain, and this is one thing I always feel crazy talking about, but I feel like there's a reason why we always are so curious and fascinated by what happens when we die. It's like because our brains know, or not our brains, our soul knows, but our brains can't quite figure it out.
Really? Because I'm not that fascinated by it.
By death?
Yeah, I don't care.
You don't care what happens when we die?
Nope.
You don't care to know. You don't care. If it's
I think death will
You've
come.
always been like that?
No, this is semi-recently.
See?
I think, well, I think when death comes, it'll be a sweet, sweet release, and I'll be done.
Yeah. Well, I think because death is at that time where you've learned all you can learn in this life, and now whatever is going to happen is going to happen.
Now, if there is something after this life, I will really miss this body. I will really miss Val, because he got me through a lot.
Yeah. I know that there's some things that I would, because I like the belief system of multiple lives, like where I had a past life and I'm going to have a future life, but I also hate that because I'm like, what about you? What about Cammie? What about Rachel?
Right.
What happens to all of them? But then if you go back to we're all splinters of the same soul, there's going to be connection.
Yeah.
So, and I think that, like, obviously, like, my belief, your belief, no one's like, right, this belief is just like,
This is a theory.
yeah, and this is what makes us happy, and whatever makes you happy, go with that. I think that your belief should make you a better person, though. It
Right.
shouldn't make you a worse person. But at the end of the day, I like the idea that, you know, what you were just saying, like, in someone's soul, you are one with each other, so if you're hurting someone else, you're hurting yourself.
Right. So why would you hurt someone?
And, I don't know, some people are more connected to that than not. So, be kind to everybody because you're a goddamn unicorn.
Yes, we're all goddamn unicorns.
Is there anything else you want to say? That's it. Go to therapy. Just kidding.
Therapy. If you need it, go. But it's also a luxury. A lot of people can't.
But you can do your own forms of therapy, just like that journaling.
Yeah, you guys are our therapy sometimes.
Yeah, so thank you for Valiant. And we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for watching. Bye.
By watching, you're not only supporting me, but you're supporting our guests as well. We appreciate you.
Were you ever taught about the birds and the bees? Ever? In your experience in this polygamous cult that you grew up in?